There's something they've been holding in for days now, maybe even longer. Not because it's a secret in a dramatic way, not because it's forbidden, but because it feels important, personal, heavy in the best kind of way. And when something feels important, you don't just throw it out casually. You wait for the right moment. You wait until it feels safe. You wait until the person you want to tell is really listening. That person is you. They've been carrying this good news quietly, and the first name that came to mind when it happened was yours. Not out of habit, not out of convenience, instinctively. That's how they knew you matter. When something good happens, you don't think about who's closest physically. You think about who feels closest emotionally, and for them, that was you. They replayed the moment in their head the second they found out. Maybe it was a message, maybe a phone call, maybe an email, maybe a conversation that shifted everything. Their heart jumped. Their body felt lighter. It was the kind of news that makes you pause and think, this changes things. And right after that feeling settled, they reached for their phone. Not to post it publicly, not to broadcast it to everyone, to tell you. But they stopped. Not because they changed their mind, because they realized something. They didn't want to just inform you. They wanted to share it. There's a difference. Informing is quick, casual, surface level. Sharing is intimate. It carries weight. It says, you're part of this moment. They want you to feel part of this moment. That's why they've been hesitating, not out of distance, out of care. They've been thinking about how to tell you, when to tell you, whether you're in a space to receive it, whether your energy has felt steady lately, whether you've seemed closer or quieter. They don't want to drop something meaningful into a space that feels uncertain. Because the truth is, this good news doesn't just belong to them. In their mind, it connects to you. Maybe it's something they've been working toward for a long time. A career shift, an opportunity, a breakthrough, a decision that required courage. Maybe it's something internal, clarity, healing, resolution, growth. Whatever it is, it represents progress. And when they imagine that progress, they imagined you standing beside them. Not literally. Emotionally, they imagined telling you and seeing that calm smile you get when you're proud but not dramatic about it. They imagined you asking thoughtful questions. They imagined the warmth in your tone when you say, "I'm happy for you." They crave that response, not applause, your understanding. Because when good news feels hollow without someone specific to share it with, that someone is important. They've also been reflecting on something deeper. This good news isn't random. It's connected to growth. And that growth is partly because of you. Maybe you challenged them in subtle ways. Maybe you encouraged them without pushing. Maybe you modeled steadiness that made them want to level up. Maybe your presence made them think differently about their future. They won't say that dramatically, but internally, they know it's true. You influence their evolution. And when someone evolves, they instinctively want to tell the person who inspired it. But here's where it gets vulnerable. They don't want to share this news if they're unsure where they stand with you. Because good news requires closeness. It requires openness. And if there's even a small gap between you right now, they feel it. They've sensed shifts in your tone before. Moments where you seemed protective. Times when you matched energy instead of leading it. They respect that. But it also makes them cautious. They don't want to show up excited if you're feeling distant. They don't want to celebrate alone in your presence. So they've been waiting for a signal, not a dramatic one, just a sign that the space between you feels clear enough to hold something meaningful. But here's what they're realizing slowly. Waiting might cost them the moment. Because sometimes we delay sharing good things because we're afraid of vulnerability. Afraid of feeling too open, afraid of caring too visibly. They don't want to make that mistake. This good news is tied to their future, and when they picture that future, you're there. That's the part that matters most. It's not just something good happened, it's something good happened and I want you involved in it. They don't want you to hear about it from someone else. They don't want you finding out indirectly. They don't want it to feel like you're on the outside of their growth. You're not on the outside. You're part of the reason they step forward in the first place. And that realization is pushing them toward action. They don't want to wait anymore. They don't want hesitation to dilute something joyful. They don't want fear to shrink something beautiful. They want to tell you fully, openly, not with guarded excitement, with genuine happiness. Because sharing good news is a form of intimacy. It says, I see you as part of my life, and that's what this is really about. Not just success, not just progress, connection. They're ready to close the gap, ready to speak, ready to let you into the moment instead of keeping it safe and contained. Because good news feels better when the right person hears it. And for them, that person has been you all along. They've been carrying this news around like something fragile, almost like if they speak it too casually, it will lose its meaning. It isn't just an update. It isn't just guess what happened. It represents a shift, a milestone, a step forward in their life that once felt uncertain. And every time they think about finally telling you, their chest tightens, not from anxiety, but from anticipation. Because this isn't about impressing you, it's about including you. There's a difference. They could have told anyone by now. Family, friends, social media, casual acquaintances, but something inside them keeps holding back because the way they want to tell you matters more than simply announcing it. They've imagined the conversation more times than they'd admit. Maybe it's over the phone. Maybe it's in person. Maybe it starts casually and then becomes more meaningful. In their mind, they see your reaction. The way your eyes soften when you're genuinely happy for someone. The way you tilt your head slightly when you're listening closely. The way you don't overreact, but you celebrate in a grounded way. They want that energy. They want your energy attached to this moment. And here's the part they're slowly admitting to themselves. They want you to feel proud of them. Not because they need validation, because your pride feels different. When you acknowledge something they've done well, it doesn't feel shallow. It feels seen. You don't exaggerate. You don't flatter for effect. You recognize effort. And effort is what this news represents. This good news didn't come easily. There were doubts along the way. Late nights. Moments where they questioned themselves. Times they almost gave up. And in those moments, whether you realized it or not, you were in their mind. Maybe it was something you said weeks ago that stuck with them. Maybe it was the way you believed in them without being loud about it. Maybe it was the quiet way you said, you're capable of more than you think. They remembered that, and it carried them forward. So now that something has finally shifted in their favor, telling you feels natural, necessary. But there's still that small hesitation, because telling someone good news opens a door emotionally. It creates vulnerability. It says, you matter enough for me to bring you into this chapter, and they don't want to open that door if they're unsure whether you're still standing on the other side. They've been replaying your recent tone, the rhythm of your conversations, the small pauses, the subtle shifts. They're trying to read whether the space between you feels steady enough to hold something joyful. They don't want this to feel like a one-sided celebration. They want it to feel shared. Because in their heart, this success, whatever form it takes, feels connected to you. Not because you caused it directly, but because you've been part of their emotional landscape while it was happening. They've noticed something else too. When they think about the future now, it looks clearer, more structured, more intentional. And you're there, not as a vague presence, as someone real. They're starting to understand that sharing good news is a test of intimacy. Who do you call first? Who do you want to see smile? Who do you picture standing next to you when things finally work out? For them, it's you. And that realization has made this feel bigger than they expected. It's not just, I got good news. It's, I want you in my life when good things happen. Yeah. They're also aware that timing matters. They don't want to drop this into a moment where you're feeling distant or unsure. They don't want it to feel like they're using good news to distract from deeper conversations. They want it to feel clean, genuine. But here's what they're beginning to realize. Waiting for perfect timing can sometimes mean missing real timing. You don't need a flawless setup to celebrate someone. You just need honesty. And honesty is what they're building the courage to bring. They've even imagined what happens after they tell you. Maybe you ask questions. Maybe you smile and say you're proud. Maybe you tease them lightly. Maybe you say something simple but meaningful. Whatever it is, they want to see it. They want to feel your reaction in real time. Because your reaction will tell them something deeper, whether you still feel aligned with them. Good news reveals where people stand. If you respond warmly, they'll feel closer. If you respond politely but distant, they'll feel it. And that vulnerability is what makes them hesitate. But at the same time, not telling you feels worse, because silence would mean keeping you outside of their growth. And that's not what they want. They don't want you on the outside. They want you beside them. They're starting to see this good news as more than an achievement. It's a moment of decision. A moment where they either step forward emotionally or stay guarded. And they're tired of guarded. They've guarded long enough. They've held back excitement, held back clarity, held back vulnerability. But this moment feels different. It feels like a doorway. And they don't want to stand in the doorway forever. They want to walk through it with you. So the hesitation is fading. The fear of vulnerability is shrinking. And the desire to include you is growing stronger. They don't want to wait anymore. Because waiting risks turning something beautiful into something distant. They want to call you, or sit across from you, or send that message with intention. They want to say, I have something good to share, and mean it. Because sharing is connection, and connection is what they've wanted with you all along. By now, the good news doesn't just sit in their chest quietly. It feels like it's pressing outward, asking to be spoken. It's no longer about whether they should tell you, it's about when they finally will. Because the longer they hold it in, the more they realize that the delay isn't about timing anymore. It's about vulnerability. They've caught themselves almost saying it more than once. Typing your name. Opening the message box. Starting with, hey, I have something I want to tell you. And then pausing. Not because they changed their mind. Because they understand what it means. Telling you this isn't just about sharing information. It's about declaring that you are part of their inner circle. It's about placing you inside their progress, not outside of it. And that's a big emotional step. They've been thinking about how you might receive it. Will you light up immediately? Will you respond calmly but warmly? Will you hold back a little because you're protecting yourself? Will you ask deeper questions? They don't know. And that uncertainty is where their vulnerability lives. But here's the truth that keeps circling back. They don't want to celebrate this moment without you. They've noticed something recently. When something good happens, even small things, they instinctively think, I should tell her. It's automatic. It's not forced. It's not strategic. It's natural. That's how they know you're not just someone they talk to. You're someone they feel connected to. This good news isn't about impressing you. In fact, part of them is worried you might downplay it in your own humble way. But they don't need applause. They need your presence. They imagine you sitting across from them, listening as they explain what happened. The way you would ask thoughtful follow-up questions. The way you would acknowledge the effort behind it, not just the outcome. You've always had that ability to see the work, not just the reward. And that matters to them more than they've said. They've also started realizing that this moment is symbolic. It represents growth. And growth feels different when someone has witnessed parts of your journey. You've seen their doubts before. You've heard them question themselves. You've listened when they were unsure about their direction. So now that something has shifted in a positive way, telling you feels full circle. It feels complete. There's another layer too. They don't just want to share the news. They want to see if you feel part of it. Because sharing something joyful is also a way of testing emotional alignment. If you respond with genuine warmth, It confirms something deeper between you. If you feel distant, they'll sense it. That's scary, but it's also necessary. They don't want to keep you in a gray space anymore. They don't want half moments. They don't want almost connection. They want clarity, and this good news is pushing them toward that clarity. They've been reflecting on how different this feels compared to other moments in their life. In the past, when something good happened, they shared it broadly, quickly, without much thought. This time, it feels intimate, selective. They don't want everyone to know at once. They want you to know first, and that realization says more than the news itself. Because who you choose to tell first reveals who matters most in that chapter of your life. They've also noticed that their excitement is tied to you more than they expected. The news itself made them happy, yes, but imagining telling you makes it brighter. It's like joy doubles when shared with the right person. And you are the right person in their mind, but they're also aware of something humbling. You don't tolerate emotional half-steps anymore. You've grown more steady, more grounded, more intentional with your energy. They feel that. They see it. And it makes them want to show up fully instead of casually. This good news is an opportunity to step forward, not just with information, but with intention. They don't want to say it lightly. They want to say it in a way that feels connected. They've imagined different versions of the conversation. One where they say it playfully, one where they say it seriously, one where they admit, "You were one of the first people I thought about." That last version feels the most honest, because it's true. When the moment happened, when the news arrived, your face crossed their mind, not as a passing thought, as a presence. They pictured your reaction before anyone else's. And that's what makes this different. They're starting to understand that sharing good news is a form of choosing someone emotionally. It says, I want you in my victories, not just my struggles. And they want you in both. They've spent enough time hesitating in other areas. They don't want to hesitate here. They don't want to wake up weeks from now realizing they missed the chance to share something meaningful in real time. Because moments lose their warmth if they're shared too late. They want you to feel the excitement as it's fresh. They want your response to blend into the memory of this milestone. They don't want to look back and think, I should have told her sooner. So the fear is shrinking. The hesitation is softening. And the desire to connect is getting louder. They're ready to stop overthinking the timing, ready to stop protecting themselves from vulnerability, ready to step into the moment honestly, because good news feels incomplete when it's kept private from someone who matters. And you matter. More than they've probably said out loud, more than they've fully shown. And this moment, this simple act of sharing something joyful, might be the first real step toward showing you exactly that. By now, the good news feels less like something they're holding and more like something that's holding them. It's no longer just excitement. It's pressure. Not negative pressure, emotional pressure. The kind that builds when you know you're supposed to say something meaningful and you keep postponing it. They've caught themselves rehearsing the opening line more times than they'd admit. I wanted you to hear this from me first. That sentence feels right, because it's honest. You are the person they want to tell first. Not because it sounds romantic, because it's true. And truth has weight. They've been thinking about what this says about their feelings. Because wanting someone included in your wins reveals more than wanting them during your struggles. It's easy to reach out when you're confused, hurting, or uncertain. It's different to reach out when you're growing, progressing, stepping into something better. Inviting someone into your growth means you see them as part of your future. And that's what they're quietly admitting to themselves. You're not just someone who listens. You're someone they picture standing beside them. This good news isn't random. It's tied to movement, advancement, change. And every time they imagine that change, your presence fits naturally into the picture. That realization both steadies and scares them. Because including you means defining something. It means closing the gap between casual connection and intentional connection. and they know you value intention. You don't thrive in gray areas. You don't cling to uncertainty. You match energy. You respond to clarity. And that awareness is pushing them to step forward properly instead of halfway. They've thought about the possibility that you might respond calmly, maybe even cautiously. Not because you're not happy, but because you've learned to protect your heart a little more. They understand that. They've seen you become steadier over time, less reactive, more observant. That growth in you is something they admire deeply. It also makes them realize they don't want to approach this moment lightly. They don't want to drop the news into your inbox and disappear. They want to hold the space, to stay present, to let the conversation breathe. Because sharing good news is about connection, not announcement. They've also acknowledged something humbling. Part of their hesitation has been fear of how much it reveals. Telling you first reveals priority. Telling you first reveals attachment. Telling you first reveals that you occupy emotional space they don't want to lose. And that vulnerability is real. But the longer they sit with it, the more they realize something simple. If they can't share joy with you openly, then what are they protecting? They don't want to protect distance anymore. They want to build closeness. There's a shift happening inside them. Before, they approached you with careful steps, testing, observing, guarding parts of themselves. Now, they're starting to feel tired of guarding. You've never made them feel unsafe emotionally. You've never used their openness against them. You've never turned their vulnerability into leverage. So what exactly are they afraid of? Losing control, looking too invested, feeling too deeply. They're starting to see that those fears are smaller than the regret of not stepping forward. This good news feels like a doorway, and they don't want to stand in the doorway anymore. They want to walk through it, with you aware, included, beside them. They imagine telling you and watching your expression soften. They imagine the warmth in your voice when you say, "I'm proud of you." They imagine the quiet smile you get when something genuinely makes you happy. They crave that. Not validation, connection. Because connection is what makes milestones meaningful. Without it, success feels solitary, and they don't want to build a life that feels solitary. They want partnership. Not necessarily dramatic, immediate, overwhelming commitment, but emotional partnership. The kind where good news is shared naturally. The kind where growth is witnessed together. The kind where victories feel mutual even when the achievement belongs to one person. That's what they're moving toward. They've also thought about how you might interpret this moment. You might see it as simple. You might not realize how much thought went into the decision to tell you first. You might respond kindly without knowing that your reaction matters more than you think. But that's okay, because what matters most is that they act. They're done waiting for the perfect tone, the perfect timing, the perfect setup. They don't want hesitation to shrink something joyful. They want to choose openness. So they're preparing to reach out, not casually, intentionally, to say, "There's something good happening in my life, and I wanted you to know." And underneath that sentence is a deeper one. You matter to me more than I've fully shown. This isn't just about good news. It's about stepping into alignment. It's about showing you that you're not on the outside of their progress. It's about letting you see that when they imagine their future expanding, you're part of the image. They don't want to wait anymore, because waiting has cost them moments before. And this moment feels too important to lose to hesitation. So if you sense a shift soon, more directness, more openness, more warmth, it's not random, it's intentional. They're choosing to share, choosing to include, choosing to close the emotional gap instead of standing in it. Because joy, when shared with the right person, becomes something deeper. And for them, that right person has been you all along.